you can never give it back. And so it's important that we acknowledge how much we appreciate the time that you have taken this morning to come and be with us, to come and share the vision that we have for our country and for our democracy. Thank you for that. And like every gathering of beautiful Africans, as we are here today, it is important to invoke the spirit of our old people and welcome them into the room. So I'm going to ask you all, before we start this auspicious occasion, that we start by invoking the spirit of our great nation with our national anthem. So if you could please stand. So just because I've got the mic doesn't mean I'm going to be starting the song. Thank you so much. It's not only for the sporting occasions that we hold it out. Our national anthem is a prayer, and our national anthem is a wish of all the people of South Africa for the land we have, for the people we have, and the democracy we have. And today, Defend Our Democracy is sounding a special call for all of us to come together, as we know that we have, in a few months, the local general elections, and our democracy needs us one more time, not just to show up for, sorry guys, I thought my phone was on silent. You see, it's because in the movies they tell you that like the screen comes up and it says, please put your phone on silent, and that never came up, so I forgot to say it. If you wouldn't mind, please, you may use your phones, and on your chairs, there are flyers that have all our hashtags. We have so many young people here in the front. Please make us trend. Use the hashtag. So you may keep your phones on. You may tag us. You may share this, and there are people joining us on YouTube live. So, but we do need it to be on silent so that it doesn't disturb the people that are going to be up here speaking. And as I was saying, the special call that is being sounded by Defend Our Democracy today is for all of us to heed the call and stand up for our democracy in small ways and in big ways. And throughout this morning, we will share with you how you can participate beyond just putting your X. We will share with you why it is so important that you show up for our democracy and our great nation. And all along, we hope to inspire you one more time about this most amazing country that we have, these most amazing people that we live with, and an incredible miracle that has happened here at the foot of Africa, and how you today can also play your part in ensuring that the story of our nation continues to be an inspiring story all over the world. The first person that I'd like to welcome on stage today is the Chief Executive of Defend Our Democracy, a fantastic and inspiring young man who, in my view, when you get to know him, when you meet him, when you hear him, and when you share the space with him, is so incredible and just one more show of how amazing the people of our land are. Mr. Wade Manning.
Projection, right? 2, 1, 1, 2. Okay, awesome. Good morning, everybody. How are you all doing? Very good. Can I get a louder good morning, everybody? How are you all doing? Yes, that's the kind of energy we need to come forth with, particularly for the upcoming elections, but also for our country and for democracy. I'd like to start by saying thank you to each and every one of you for taking out of your weekday. I know it is a Friday, and I know we have been elated with the celebrations of Bafana Bafana's success, taking us to, yes, let's give them a round of applause. The boys deserve it. For taking us to the knockout rounds, and I hope everyone's praying that we continue to go onwards and upwards in that respect. And I think that's the same kind of energy I'd like to greet you all with this morning. So to each of you, wherever you're from, whatever your creed or background, whatever your religion, whatever your language, whatever your culture, good morning and welcome to the official launch of Defend Our Democracy's Election Watch 2026 campaign. I'd like to say thank you firstly to God for the opportunity and the grace to be here. I'd like to say thank you to Defend Our Democracy leadership, the chair, the deputy chair, all the national executive members who are here today, any members from parliament or council, CEOs and representatives of civil society organizations, and also to members of media, academia, lawyers. Thank you so much for coming out to support what is the most important cause in our country today. It's been 32 years since the dawn of democracy in South Africa. Prior to that, we all know that we existed under an oppressive regime. But 32 years ago, South Africans stood in lines that stretched for kilometers. I'm sure some of you were there. Please put your hands up if you were. Yes, proudly in those lines. Yes, clap for yourselves. They stood in heat, in dust, and some of them for hours on end. Old men and women who had never in their lives been permitted to vote. Young people like you and I. This morning we are joined by members of the Johannesburg Student Council. Where are you all, guys? Over there. Thank you so much for your representation. I happen to be an alumni student councillor myself, so thank you for the support. But young people stepped into a future that their parents had sacrificed everything to build. They stood and they waited, not because it was convenient, but because they understood in their bones that what was happening was sacred. They were not just casting a ballot. They were making a declaration to the world. We are here. We count and this country belongs to us. That was 1994. This is 2026. And I need to ask you an uncomfortable question. Mzansi, what happened? The Human Sciences Research Council asked South Africans how satisfied they are with the way democracy is working in this country 32 years later. In 2004, the answer was 63%. 63% of our people believed their democracy was delivering for them. By 2025, that number had collapsed drastically to 17%. That is not a statistic, that's a verdict. Trust in national government currently sits below 20%. Trust in local government at 18%. And trust in politicians, would anybody like to give it a guess? Wow. I love the hope and the faith in the room, guys. Just 9%. There are countries that have been through civil war with higher trust ratings in their politicians than we have in ours today. And yet, and this is what I need you to hear today, this is not a failure of democracy. This is a failure of those entrusted to serve and cherish and wield it. The idea that every South African's dignity is equal, that every child deserves clean water and working schools, that every community deserves street lights and refuse collection and a local government that picks up the phone, that idea is not a broken one. The people put in charge of delivering it have fallen short. And those are not the same things. And we must never allow anyone to convince us that they are. Defend Our Democracy was born in a moment of crisis. When the Zondo Commission was threatened, when state capture had gorged itself on the public purse, and when it seemed like organized criminal networks had set up shop inside the very institutions built to protect us, civil society, labor movements, faith communities, academics, journalists, ordinary citizens like you and I came together and said, enough. Not for a party and not against a party, but for the Constitution. We are a movement today of over 40 affiliated organizations across the country. We are a labor and faith and academia and media. We are a coalition of conscience, as I like to call it. And our tagline is not just accidental. Justice, Constitution, equality, in that order. Because you cannot have equality with a constitution that means nothing. And a constitution that means something requires us to have justice. Not one day, not eventually, but now. Today, right now, in this room, we are officially launching the Election Watch campaign for 2026. On the 4th of November 2026, South Africans will go to the polls to elect their local government representatives. They will choose ward councillors, municipal leaders, the people who oversee the implementation of service delivery in our communities. They decide where budget goes, where it's allocated, to fixing potholes, to ensuring running water comes out of our taps, to ensuring that when we do switch on the lights after a long day at work, we have, in fact, light. These are the decisions that are made at local government level that maintain the facilities in your community, the parks where your children play. It's our councillors who allocate these budgets and ensure that the ward communities are actually participating in local government. By a show of hands, do you know which ward you live in? Okay. By a show of hands, do you know which ward we're in today? By a show of hands, do you know your ward councillor? Okay. I'm preaching to the converted today, I see. In fact, our local government is the government closest to you and the government with the most direct power to change the texture of your daily life. And we're not going to just leave that election unattended, are we? Mzansi, you are the boss. It's your vote for your community and for your dignity. On election day, Defend Our Democracy seeks to deploy 5,000 trained citizen election observers across more than 1,000 polling stations nationwide. 5,000 South Africans who have been trained to watch, to record, to report, and to protect the integrity of every single ballot cast. Not spies, not agents, but citizens, exercising the most constitutional thing a person can do, to watch and to refuse to look away. We are confident that this time around, the majority of those observers will be youth. Yes? Youth who are proud and brave to show up and take action for their communities, for their dignity and for their future. Now I'd like to talk about and to those 5,000 people, many of whom I believe are sitting in the seats today. Your gaze matters. You matter. Your presence at that polling station on the 4th of November is a form of power that no party can take from you and no government can switch off, not even Eskom. When you stand in that station as an observer, you are not just watching an election. You are building the democratic muscle that this country will need for the next 32 years. We need you. Your community needs you. Zwagala, come forward. Join the watch. As an organization made up of collective, we want to be honest about why this campaign is necessary. HSRC data tells us that the evaluations of free and fair elections in South Africa have grown more negative over the past decade. We are here to change that culture. The integrity of the vote is not the IEC's problem alone to solve. It's ours, every one of ours. South Africa has upheld a stellar record of free and fair elections since 1994. And so democracy has been upheld with integrity because of its citizens. We are here to stand on that foundation, to reinforce it, and to say to anyone who would want to manipulate, intimidate, or subvert that the will of the people is here today to say, we are watching. Let me tell you what this campaign is not. It is not partisan. Defend Our Democracy does not belong to any party, not to the ANC or the DA or the EFF or the PA or the MK or the PAC or any of the many, many parties that you'll see on the ballot. We belong to the Constitution, and the Constitution belongs to us. If you came here today hoping we were going to tell you who to vote for, I'm going to have to disappoint you. That is your sovereign choice. What we tell you is this: please vote. And when you vote, know that there is someone standing in that polling station whose entire job that day is to make sure your vote is counted as you cast it. That is what we are building. Not a partisan army, but a citizen's watch. I'd like to speak directly to any of the cynics in the room. And I know some of you are here. You don't have to put your hand up. I know some of you have heard this rhetoric before. I know some of you have stood in the lines in 1994 and have watched 32 years of promises dissolve into perhaps all you remember: corruption, load shedding, potholes, and neglect. I know some of you have started to wonder whether the whole thing, the whole Constitution, the Bill of Rights, the Freedom Charter, the grand project of a non-racial democratic society, whether it's just simply a beautiful ideal. I understand that, and I'm not here to dismiss it. Your frustration is earned. But here is what I do know. Democracies do not die in coups. They die in the slow accumulation of non-participation. Every time you sit there and decide to keep quiet, to say, oh, the vote, that's not something for me. It dies when good people decide that none of this matters. It dies when citizens hand over by default and by absence the power that was bought with blood and sweat and sacrifice to people who don't really deserve it or care for it. The problem in South Africa is not that democracy doesn't work. The problem is that not enough of us are working democracy. That needs to end today. Can I get an amen? So here's what we're asking you to do. You'll see a QR code up on the screens throughout the day today. Scan that. Sign up to be an election observer. Firstly, can I find out who is registered to vote? Okay, I don't see 100% participation. I'm going to ask that by the end of this week or by the end of today, you log on to www.iec.org.za and simply register yourself. It's as simple as that. Sign up thereafter with DOD to be an election observer. Train with us, learn with us, understand what democracy allows and what it doesn't allow. Understand why it matters so that you can hold it accountable. Show up on the 4th of November with your eyes open, your phone charged, and your country in your heart. If you are a young person today, I'm speaking to you. We especially need you. For the first time, 21 million people in South Africa are under the age of 35. That's officially a third of South Africa's population. Can you imagine if every young person was registered to vote and actually took to the polls on the 4th of November? What kind of significant impact that could have on the future of our country? We have a target of just 5,000 observers. How's about we make sure a majority of them are you, young people? Not because it looks good in a press release or on the gram, but because the future of this democracy is in fact yours. And the only way you get to inherit it in a good shape is if you decide to be a part of it now and guard it. If you're an organization, we're asking you to affiliate with us. This doesn't just speak to NGOs or foundations. We're speaking to churches, to mosques, to community organizations who make sure that our elderly are taken care of or our children are looked after and fed. Stand in a coalition with us. Add your voice to ours. The power of defend our democracy is not in any one leader or any one campaign. It is in the breadth and depth of the conscience we represent across the country. To the 19 organizations who have already endorsed our Election Watch campaign prior to the launch today, I'd like to say thank you. I'm going to call them by name. Foundation for Environmental Responsible Mining, Msunduzi Association of Residents, Ratepayers and Civics, Freedom of Expression Institute, the Alliance of NPO Networks, Solidarity, InnovTech, #StandUpSouthAfrica, Be the Future of Foundation, Citizens South Africa, the Highveld Environmental Development Networking Alliance, the Progressive Tamil Movement, OUTA, Inchanga Community Resource Center, Snobile Life Support MPO, Ntwana Community Development Forum, Sisonkelana, Lombard Consolidated, the Campaign for Free Expression, the Ahmed Kathrada Foundation, the Council for the Advancement of the South African Constitution. Then, to the 1,229 observers who have already signed up for country duty as election observers for the 4th of November, thank you. And if you're in this room, please give yourselves a round of applause. To those of you maybe watching from home on live stream or on your phone on a screen somewhere in Limpopo or Mthatha, KwaZulu-Natal, or Soweto or Mitchell's Plain, we see you. We are coming to your community. We are coming to your polling station, and we're inviting you to be a part of something that's bigger than any party, bigger than any election, and bigger than any one single moment. There's a woman I think about often when I do this kind of work. She's elderly, she's worked hard all her life. She's watched promises come and go. She's buried people that she loves. She's waited, perhaps, for running water, for a functioning clinic that actually stocks her medication, for a government that treats her as though her dignity is real and not just theoretical. She has every reason to stay at home on the 4th of November, but she won't. Because something in her, something that was not extinguished by 32 years of inconsistent service delivery, of disappointment, still believes that her vote is hers and hers alone, that her voice counts, and that the Constitution, for all of its imperfect guidelines or guardians, is still the most powerful thing that she owns. We are doing this for her. We are doing this for her grandchildren. We are doing this because democracy is not just a gift that arrives fully formed and stays forever, but a practice and a discipline, a daily decision by millions of ordinary people like you and I to show up and insist on maintaining your dignity. That is the decision we're here to make today. That is the moment I'm asking you to step up to. Defend our democracy, South Africa's coalition of conscience is watching. On the 4th of November, we'll be at 1,000 polling stations. 5,000 of us, eyes open, phones charged, trained and ready. I leave you today with a call to action. Swagala, join the watch. Join the election watch for 2026. Thank you.
What is democracy? It's a system of governance by the people, for the people, with the people.
Means everything. I can't just encapsulate that. I was born here, and I'm presumably going to die here, so I think it's, kind of encapsulated my life.
To me, it means life because we are the residents of this area, so we demand to know everything that's going on. So yeah, it's life, it's our livelihood, it's our children, it's our future.
The Republic of South Africa is one sovereign democratic state founded on the following values: human dignity, the achievement of equality, and the advancement of human rights and freedoms.
Democracy is the best we've got. It's a shame in some ways. It leads to kind of tired politics like it does in the global north. They're starting to realize the price to pay when your democracy collapses. Our democracy, I'd say, is wild and vital. It's looking fine for now.
I feel that democracy has delivered on its promises. Reason being that we don't fight like we used to back then for rights and the right to proper education. We don't fight for those things anymore because the system has shifted and adapted to our ways so that we can have a brighter future.
Yes, I do believe so, because a lot of things has changed and it has actually taught us as young people how apartheid was back then. So yeah, it actually teaches us a lot as a youth.
In terms of South Africa having delivered a democracy, I would say that, here and there, I feel like yes, it has, but there is still some work that needs to be done. This type of things are not really done. It's always an ongoing thing to make sure that it stays the way that it is. But I would say that we're definitely 100% on the right track.
Lay the foundations for a democratic and open society in which government is based on the will of the people and every citizen is equally protected by law.
After 1994, the period between 1994 was real difficult, a real struggle. But 1994, we just let our guards down. We said, we've done it, now let's continue.
I'm not sure that democracy made any promises. There were politicians who made promises. God help them, because they f***ed up.
I don't believe it has delivered its promises, because even today we are still we have taken initiative to fulfill the promises ourselves, not the democracy.
And it has not delivered, not because democracy is a problem. It is becoming a problem, but simply because we never schooled the next generation to appreciate the value systems that come with democracy. You understand?
I don't really think democracy has fulfilled its promises because there's a lot of unemployment. The youth unemployment is so high. There's a lot of crime. The education we are supposed to get for free. A lot of people are staying at homes, not getting education they want. Things like financial burdens on South Africans that we were promised that's going to be eliminated. So I really don't think so.
The first 10 years is an awakening after 94. We suddenly realize that we can and we are able. But then you need to start putting measures into place to start realizing this dream. The first measure we need to put into place is education. And our education is simply not up to scratch. Our government is not serious about education.
Everyone has the right to a basic education, including adult basic education, and to further education, which the state, through reasonable measures, must make progressively available and accessible.
Until June 76, we were involved in the struggle, but we were second-class citizens in our own understanding, not just in the country, but in our own understanding. There were no-go areas, don't think about this, don't consider this. No, you can't go there. You can't intermix with those people and those type of things. 76 brought a change in the whole process. Everything was up for discussion. It was a slow process, and in fact a painful and difficult process.
I had been arrested in April of that year, and I was at Foster Square.
I wanted to relive the experiences and also bring about to life what has happened previously and how it has influenced us.
I become uncomfortable when we discuss our struggle, then we put them in compartments. Because immediately when we put them in compartments, it is when we start throwing stones at each other.
The suppression was so brutal that many parents who were activists either ended up detention and prison or had to leave for exile.
When we grew up, our parents were the pinnacle. Somehow we've leveled it out, so many of our youth cannot relate to yesterday, to who they are, what they are. Our parents were pivotal in giving us direction, in where we stayed, what we've done, everything about us. But somewhere the connection has been lost. And I cannot blame the youth. We must blame ourselves for not having you in this process.
We, the people of South Africa, respect those who have worked to build and develop our country.
So the period between 76 and 80 was a growing period. A period now, suddenly a new reality starts setting in. And you test the waters, you constantly testing, can I do this, can't I do this? Can I do this, can't I do this? Can I? You understand? And then you find that you can, and then it's a new reality. And then you can, and the first step, baby steps, and then you start walking, then you start crawling, and then walking, and then... So only after 1980 did this reality really sink in that, listen, it is not like yesterday was. We need to do things differently.
We need now to start taking that blood and turning it into ballot.
But the vote is meaningless unless it is not just transparent, but it is, you live it. You need to live it.
This constitution is the supreme law of the Republic. Law or conduct inconsistent with it is invalid, and the obligations imposed by it must be fulfilled.
You know, corruption in South Africa is too much, man. So we say no to corruption. That's the main reason here.
I get a lot of emotions and anger seeing how corruption is at its core.
They must do their job. They must stop corruption. They must listen to the people. They must do the right thing. We appointed them there. Their salary is us who pay them. So they must listen to us. Stop corruption. They must do the right thing.
Accountability doesn't just happen. It's not just no. You need to understand what it means, where you are at. It takes a while for you to your sense of consciousness to come about.
The most consequential decisions are often the hardest ones. No leader succeeds alone. Strong institutions are built by people who can think rigorously, who can work with others, who can act with integrity, even when the path is difficult. If you can do that, you will not only make better decisions, you will help build institutions and societies that are more resilient, more credible, and more just.
With the people means that we have a responsibility to teach the next generation about these value systems. The value systems were not transferred to the next generation. So you find this next generation having a almost no care attitude. It comes naturally, these things. With us, it was a struggle, it was a fight.
More than 30 years into democracy, and we're still having to cry and we're still having so much struggles, but our cries at times are not the same, but we can't go on like this. Everything that's happening is close to home, and one way or the other I am affected, and the saddest part of it is that those still to come are going to be affected, and also as a young adult growing up, I will eventually be affected. My one fear and worry is, what does the future hold for us?
Many of the most important decisions that shape your lives are made in rooms you will never enter, based on debates you will never enter.
Young people should be out there voting.
I wish for that X to bring change. I wish for that X to raise awareness that as the youth we vote for a specific purpose, which is to bring change and also to enhance development.
Because we have been fighting the same battle over and over. It's not something it's a never-ending battle. But I would love for the fact that, you know, people to find work, for jobs to be created, you know, people creating businesses, you know, that would be absolutely amazing.
The next 32 years, we're going to see a consolidation of new generations of South Africans who have moved out of the enforced tribalization of, you know, the previous eras. Going to see increased social unrest and violence unless we find our way towards coexisting, even if we don't really always like each other very much.
Change is not just about sitting or speaking about it, but action is needed. Where there's noise, there can be change, and I am determined to continue doing what I should do to see the change that we all deserve.
We're all part of a greater reality. Because unless you know that, you cannot define your future.
Most of the time when we talk about young people, we use these words: get involved, participate. But there's one word we avoid: lead.
We fought for so long to be able to vote and, you know, for rights and everything. So I believe that every single vote matters. Everybody should have a say in, you know, who's going to lead us.
We get things done by ourselves.
So everyone that is listening and is out there, just think what you can do. And I know that most of us know what we can do. It's just a matter of doing it.
We can do this, that this is possible.
We, the people of South Africa, believe that South Africa belongs to all who live in it, united in our diversity. Everyone has inherent dignity and the right to have their dignity respected and protected. build a united and democratic South Africa, able to take its rightful place as a sovereign state in the family of nations, improve the quality of life of all citizens, and free the potential of each person. Mzansi, you're the boss. It's your vote for your community and your dignity. Zwagala, join the watch. Defend our democracy.
So Wayne is not just the CEO of Defend Our Democracy, he's also a filmmaker. He shot and edited that film. Yeah, he won't tell you that. He's way too modest. Ladies and gentlemen, I know you now know that the X on that ballot is just the beginning of the journey. And while we think about that, while you are looking into that QR code, signing up, as Africans, you know, we sing when we're happy, we sing when we mourn, we sing when we need inspiration, and we sing when we gather, and today will be no different. Please, will you put your hands together for an exceptional quartet, the Soweto a cappella group, to give us a little bit of soothing music before we get into the next conversation. Oh, quintet, 5.
One, two, 1, 2. Fabulous greetings to everyone. We are honored to be here to defend our democracy. It's an honor and a privilege to learn more and also just to be part. It's inspiring to those who are hearing the vision of knowing that we need a difference. Even though we are to serenade our mindset also is sparked to say we need the change and we have to definitely vote. So we're going to be voting. Let's see.
Masithandazele
Delisizwe
Afrika
Masithandazele isizwe
Masithandazele
Delisizwe
Afrika
Masithandazele isizwe
Masithandazele
Delisizwe Amen, 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 amen. Amen, 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 amen,
Amantombazane abafazi omama bethu bayakhala 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 kanti kwenze njani abesifazane babulawa kanje kanti kwenze njani
abesifazane babulawa kanje, amantombazane abafazi, omama bethu bayakhala, amantombazane abafazi, omama bethu bayasaba, kanti yini kwenze njani abesifazane babulawa kanje. Wemadoda sabelani, wemadoda sabelani, wemadoda ngandani, iyo lengozi nathi lengozi bayapela bafazi. Wemadoda sabelani, wemadoda sabelani, wemadoda ngandani, iyo lengozi nathi lengozi bayapela bafazi. Tulululu, tululululululu, tulululu, tulululu.
When not just cries, but not just cries, was a heartfelt voice speaking of the devoid, things that had separated from the purpose of that solemnly promise that made the broken world become a ruin, a decade of the existent accomplished. We saw it, turning terrible in our eyes, violence perpetuating by day, a sky on the rise. Who was there to save and say no? Was it some on the go? It was a perpetuation of evil that had already took its turn. Man had to come in to say, man, we gotta stop it unless everybody burns. Putting it as a transformation where we were transitioned to know that it doesn't end only in the violence of a household, but dreams that now were violated, instead of them to becoming that hometown called the life city of gold, where we had to mine for the happiness. Is it the palace that God has given us, the promised land of Canaan, or it was just that island determines where people were determined to use Canaan's bombs to make sure that this world we're living in is now no more beneficial and soothing, or rather befitting for one who needs the peace? I felt it becoming more deteriorating. Instead of love, it was disease. In our minds at first, it exploded and it made us to hurt and burst out bursting what we had kind of think we are supposed to stop. Wemadoda sabelani, wemadoda ngandani,
Oh, wow. Thank you, gentlemen. When that beat box started, I kept thinking, is there I thought they were just a cappella. Is there a drum somewhere? Are we positioning these chairs properly for our panel? You can see, yeah? The next part of our conversation this morning, as Wayne has told us, this is Defend Our Democracy is a coalition of conscious. And we have 4 representatives from very diverse, I'll stand, it's fine, thank you. Very diverse parts of this coalition of conscious. I'm going to call up our panelists one by one, and I'm going to ask you to take your seat from the furthest chair, please. First up, and I had to think about this. What do I do? Do I start with the elders, or do I start with the youngsters? Do I start with the lady? So, I've decided to shake it up a little bit. And I'm going to start with you, Otsile Nkadimeng, who is a young man that just before the last election, started an organization called So We Vote, a fascinating and amazing young person who is obsessed with the idea, sit at that seat, obsessed with the idea that young people can change the direction of our country if only they show up to the ballot, which is quite a noble cause. So please welcome Otsile. And the second person I'm going to call up is Reverend Ntlha, who is a theologian, who is a pastor, who is not just a shepherd of his own flock, but the chairman of the South African Christian Leadership Initiative. And Rev, please can you join us on stage? And he's going to share with us a lifelong passion for not just the word, but freedom, society, and how those two things go hand in hand. And thirdly, I'm going to call up, she's too young to vote, but she is the deputy mayor of the Junior City Council, Miss Maleka. Come this way, Sissy. Yeah. A daughter of Alexander Township, a bright young lady who, at a very early age, has already taken up the mantle of standing for public office, and hopefully, in years to come, we'll see her in our parliament. And the reason I've decided that our final panelist is the last person I'm going to call up, because I grew up in Soweto, and in the 80s dancing to some incredibly fantastic music, of which this man was integral to making. He was 25 years old in 1976 and already on his way to being an international superstar. And yesterday morning, just after 4, a fantastic goal was scored by Masego that gets us into the last 32. And the sound that played in the stadium was Burnout. And the world was introduced to our Sipho Hotstix Mabuse. I'm not even going to read his CV, because really? I need microphones for our panelists, please. Tate Mabuse is also a neighbor of mine. Is everyone on? Are they on? Are they on? You know how to turn on a mic. You on? I'm going to stand if you don't mind, so that I can also see any audience participation. The reason we've gathered the 4 of you is because from very diverse parts of the way that our democracy works, your lived experiences can all be shared to inspire, to inform, and to excite, I think, everyone about not just the local general election, but democracy as a whole. And I am going to start with you, young lady Martha. First, the rose among the thorns. You're only 17, and you've already decided to take on this mantle of government, shall we say. What is it that makes you think that this is the way to participate best in democracy at this point in your life, instead of just partying?
Greetings, everybody. I think for me, I got to a point where I was saying to myself, for us to actually stand up, we need to be angry enough. And I said to myself, I myself am angry enough, and I want change. And especially from judging based on where I come from, there's many youth that is so demotivated. The youth are partying, the youth are doing all sorts of things, and I say to myself, and this is where God also comes in my life. I didn't really go to a school in Alexander. I had the privilege to go out. And from going out from my school, then I got into council. But I got into council and I saw many diverse youth, and I said, there's something missing. I actually have to go back into my own community, because this world is a very nice world, but there's actually, I'd say, the pits that are going back in my community. So I had to get back there and to actually get into my community and finding young people who actually think are like me. It's so limited. It's even countable. Every single time I'm like, let's go to a council meeting, let's go to this, let's join that. It's like, how, let's talk about groove, let's talk about partying, let's talk about this. So many thoughts are not really aligned into the concern that I have for the future of our country. I mean, at the end of the day, we have a country to run. And I say to myself, you know what, if I could stand up, because I know very well, coming back from Alexander, in order for them to take part in things like this, seeing is believing. We want to vote, but then we want to see the change. So I was like, I also but then I'm gonna stand up and I'm gonna show people that also means that you have to show up, you have to take part. And this is what I'm doing, and hopefully if they can see what I'm doing, they can be able to come and join. So
That's
this is why
commendable.
yes, thank you.
It's very commendable, amazing. Ntlha, I think this is, the Martha raises an incredible concern that I think a lot of us in our communities, and I think South Africans at large, we're exhausted, we're demotivated, we are angry sometimes. And I wonder, from your work and your experience over the years, what do you think the hope that South Africans need to look to? Where is that, and how do we find it?
Thank you for this introduction, and thanks for Martha for a brilliant input from 17 years old, you said?
Yes.
I think that is pretty much what I would say, which is that the hope, as we learned in 94, and you can go back in time to whenever it was when the struggle to end, firstly, colonialism, the 1800s, and after 1948, apartheid, what actually was the engine of bringing about that change was that people had come to the conclusion that A, we have to be angry enough, B, that we are our own liberators, we are our own, we are the ones who have the agency to transform our environment, our society, the structures that govern us. Was it an easy task? No. Were there casualties? Yes, many. Did it test the patience, the perseverance, the vision of every single one of us? Definitely. It was a struggle that took over 100 years, but it doesn't, maybe even more, because since 1652, there have been skirmishes about what should happen to us as a people. And so when 1994 came about, the conclusion and the celebration was this, that yes, we have done it. Yes, we can. Yes, our future is in our hands.
And there's that which, if you think about it, apartheid and everything that preceded it was a conspiracy to steal from us that sense of agency, that sense that we can transform our environment and make it a better place for us and our children, grandchildren to live in. And that's the moment that we have to recover something of that, to live as a people with a hope that all of us as South Africans have what it takes to make a difference in terms of what it is we find now, all of the decay of our institutions. We can make a difference. And I think to defend our democracy is a good vehicle by which we can get engaged. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. So 2 weeks ago, the commemoration of 50 years of the student uprising of Soweto took place. Ntate Mabuse, 50 years later, you still have a passion and a burning flame for this country and for democracy. What is it in the face of all that you see that keeps that flame alive for you?
Thank you so much, and welcome to everyone. Thank you, Sean. You know, as I was listening and I'm sitting here thinking, how am I going to respond to questions I have not been presented with prior to me coming here? Anyway, I didn't even realize that I'd be having to respond to 1976. One of the things that I must say is that by 1976, I was no longer a student.
Mm-hmm.
I'd left high school, and nonetheless, there was the uprising. And whether to say fortunately or unfortunately, I lived in Soweto, so I experienced the explosion from the young people. I think the young people at that time had realized that our parents, or the older generation, had given up on itself. And what could have happened is that the situation which Africans found themselves in would have continued. So the young people decided, okay, through the little means that are available to us, we're going to have to change the status quo and ensure that it never has to happen again for future generations. And of course, the end result was that the 1976 happened. Maybe through, you know, fate has its way of creating things unaware. And maybe the education became central to everything that happened. The nationalist government didn't even realize that when it imposed Afrikaans, that would be the reason for reaction and the response to what was happening then. However, it's very important that we have organizations like Defend Our Democracy. It's very, very critical. Most of the time, also, there are no institutions that monitor what goes on, you know, during this, what we call democracy. Are we experiencing the democracy that we fought so much for? And it has become critical for young people to say, if our parents do not do things the way we think should be done and advance this democracy, then it is for the young people, as Martha says, to take it upon themselves and wrestle with this thing to say, this is how we're going to do it. We're experiencing a lot within our national psyche. Young people are impoverished Young people do not even know whether tomorrow there'll be better South Africa for them. There'll be better education. There'll be home. We're faced with a lot of homelessness, drug abuse, and all the things that we never imagined could happen. So what is organizations like Defend Our Democracy going to do? They have to instill that self-discipline amongst the people. However, even when I say that, we also need to be very careful that we are not very hard on ourselves. Democracy is not an event. It's not an event. It's not something that takes place one day and everything is all right. We have to work at ensuring that the next 100 years, things will be different. It's not going to happen overnight. But we have to stay in line and pursue what we believe is the right direction for the future of this country.
Sure. Democracy is not an event.
Democracy is not an event.
Otsile.
It's not like a music festival.
Otsile, and from that democracy is not an event. You started this organization, So We Vote. You talk to a lot of your peers and some younger about voting and why it's important. When they say to you that the vote does nothing, as many young people say, as we've seen from the statistics from the IEC and the Human Rights Council, how do you respond when they say, why does it matter? Why should I vote?
Thank you for the question, and thank you to everybody for coming and giving us your ear. One thing you didn't mention when you started is that I'm a law student. So as a law student, you know when you ask a lawyer a question, you don't get a direct answer. So
are you preparing us for not answering my question?
I'm going to get to the answer.
Okay,
but
eventually.
how I get there, I'm preparing you that we're going to take the long road.
Okay.
So where we are now is that we're in a space where the IEC data will tell you, in the segment of young people, the highest participation is within the 18 to 19 years of age frame. These are first-time voters. So what that tells us as a reading is that these are young people who are interacting with the political sphere for the very first time. In terms of expectations, maybe are not as intense as those who have been in this process for a very long time, but nevertheless, there is a willingness to engage and to see what's out there. What we see beyond that age range is a steep decline. And that exists because at its core, the political system, whatever you want to call it, hasn't given expression to the needs and the desires of young people in that segment. Now, one of the things, and I'm very happy that the video quoted the Constitution a lot. One of the things that are really at risk right now is that democracy isn't just in a position where it's backsliding globally. The Varieties of Democracy Institute released a report earlier this year which says we are globally in 1978, the levels of democracy that we are seeing globally. So it's an international problem that we are facing. But at its core, it's an assault on the values of individual expression, representative democracy, and constitutionality. Here in South Africa, we are seeing these things getting attacked day after day, whether it be March on March and the whole Abahambe movement. I don't really know what it is they're trying to get at there. You see it, it's a constant process of attack and assault, but it's happening because people are finding expression for their needs and their desires outside of the conventional political system. And so then when the question comes to me from young people, well, not really when the question comes to me, when I tell people register to vote, and I'm very happy to hear that our deputy mayor here is 17, because she can register to vote from 16, even if you can't vote, but we'll catch you in 2029. when the question then comes back, the question that comes back is always, but then who do I vote for? Which is then the second leg of this question, or this problem. And at the end of the day, if you can't find anybody to vote for, then really what's then called for is for you to get involved in the actual contesting and challenging in the political process. On the 16th of June, I met Sipho Hotstix Mabuse at the Hector Peterson Museum, and he was telling us exactly what he was telling us here today. But we were also hearing about the agitators that were on the ground on the 16th of June in 1976. It wasn't the majority that had agitated to say, no, we are going to do what ended up happening on the 16th of June. It was a small group of agitators that began to organize amongst themselves to say, listen, people might not want to do this, but nevertheless, we're going to have to pull people out of classrooms to go and to join us on the streets. And so there's a lot of young people in the room, and this is why I'm saying I'm giving you the long answer, you see. The long answer is that what's called for when that question of, but then who do I vote for? It's called for us to readopt that agitator's spirit. I'm very happy the Ahmed Kathrada Foundation is here because you hear a lot about Uncle Kathy and the spirit of activism. I think it's very important that you guys, that we get an opportunity to engage with the curriculum and the content that they have on that. There's a lot of nice books that they have, great reading material. Because we are at a point now where it is required of us to step into the political system and to grab it from the people who currently occupy it. But that can only happen if we agitate for it. So you might be called the annoying, believe me, I'm speaking from experience. You might be called the annoying political kid in school. Believe me, my law class colleagues do not like me every time we come to constitutional law because I'm there. But you are the force that is pulling people into the arena at a time now when it is necessary. Because we have a situation, and I'll come to Africa now, we have a situation on the continent where you look in Mozambique, you look in Zimbabwe, you look in other countries that we, here in Southern Africa that we share borders with, there is a problem of young people participating in democracy, but you're also seeing that democracy starting to falter. And South Africa, we're lucky that the liberation movement, the African National Congress, though its power share is declining, we are not seeing it take the posture of ex-liberation movements when they leave office, and that is they begin to consolidate themselves via military power. So the power of democracy will still be here. But with this shift happening in our country's politics, it's now needed for us as young people to organize amongst ourselves, to conscientize each other about what the necessary next steps are, and then to mobilize, not just to go out and vote, but to go out and vote in an organized block. You know, I'll end on this.
There's a very interesting thought that you are putting out, and anyone on the panel can take this. The idea of participating, what you're talking about, and organizing and agitating, the reason we're here today and the reason Defend Our Democracy is launching this Election Watch campaign is it's more than just showing up to put down your eggs. Why do you think it's so important for all of us, not just the young people, but even the older people? Why is it so important that we are there to observe, to record, to, at this point, because you're talking about a declining democracy and you're talking about the fact that people feel like the government is less and less, and you're talking about the shift in power. Why is it so important? Anyone can take this question. That we are there to watch, to record, to report. Us too, the citizens.
Let me finish
You
the
start,
thought,
and
and
then-
then
yeah.
I'll leave it to the others to answer that question. It's a very tough question. But I was going to end on this front, and the front I was going to end on was to say that, so with all of these things happening, election observing is critical because there are going to be people that are going to try pull fast things. We saw it in 2024, Mkonto Wesizwe tried to post the results, pull a fast thing on the country. Luckily, the integrity held. But because we're in a transitional stage, not only should we be aiming to maintain the integrity, but we should be aiming to direct where the future goes. Because if I were to ask you, and you're not allowed to call a crystal ball and you can't call a friend for help, what do you think 2029, I'll jump this year, 2029, that election will look like? Do you have an idea? Do you have an idea of what the future could hold? Do you have any thought of that? And I can guarantee you, I've spoken to these political guys, none of them know. So it should tell you that the opportunity is there for the taking. And if we organize properly and we do what DOD is doing, which is critical, and we maintain the integrity of those elections, coming now in the LGEs and 29, we can revolutionize, no, that word's misused too many times. We can shift the trajectory of South Africa. So that's where I end.
Evolve. Fantastic. Ntatemosi, let's start with you and then we'll come to you, Martha.
Yeah, let me weigh in on this. Yes, I agree there's a democratic backsliding across the world. I think that we are fracturing each in their own tribes. And in a sense, my hope, and I speak as an elderly, 1976 I was a student, I was in high school, and I was shared the frustration that the part of why the uprising, we didn't tell the parents what. They only found out when they were at work that the kids are rioting, and so it was a conspiracy in a sense because the parents had failed the young people. They had tolerated abuse for so long. However, now that I am well stricken in years, I look at it as in a somewhat different, and I think that because, and to your question for me about why is it important for us, young and old, black, white, every one of us to be involved in this democracy, is that it is our collective wisdom, all of us, young and old, black, white, rich, poor, to actually become a part of this. Across the world, there is a tendency to be at each other's throats. We have thought as black South Africans that our problem is white people. And until 1994, and we realized that things weren't changing much, so we realized actually it's not white people. The corruption, the tendency to greed and so on doesn't choose race. All of us are likely to be that. And so this thing about the problem lies with the other. There's the quartet, the quintet that was here was talking about how women are suffering because men think the women are the problem. The women think the men are the dogs. And so we all look at the other and we see a problem. And does that make it easier to solve our problem? I think it just simplifies our problem to manageable terms where we can deal with it. Because once you've simplified it and you've said your problem is a woman, then you deal with it. And the same, if the women think men are the problem, they simplify it to that and they deal with them. But the problem is much worse than this. And it does require for all of us to come together and construct a future together. We can talk about the same thing between the young and the old. People in my generation think the young people are the problem. They don't listen they listen to Google or whatever else, ChatGPT or Gemini or whatever. And so the young people are going to also think the old people are the problem. They can't even use a smartphone, so what do we expect? What can they tell us? Could we imagine a future where such intergenerational conversation happen so that there's no one excluded, no race is excluded? Right now, part of the xenophobia, in quotes, has to do with the fact that the other is so problematized that their contribution is dismissed. And so I'm looking forward to a future where the human community can become precisely that, where we invent solutions together. Thank you.
Martha, you wanted to add something?
I think the most important thing in being an observer is that a person should be an observer, because if you are not an observer, you will not understand what is going on. And if you don't understand what is going on, you will not want to get involved. And if you do not want to get involved, you will sit back. Whatever idea you have, whatever innovative idea you have, you will not share, but you will sit back and you will let other people lead the economy for you. And now when there's economic backlashes, you stand up and say, no, but why corruption, no, but this, but you had the chance to voice out. You had the chance to stand up, but you chose not to. But then another thing about participation and observing is that there are other things that when you observe and you see, you can't unsee it. And especially wearing my mayoral hats, these are the realities that I've seen, especially when it comes to youth participation in our economy. It's always the word participation, but when youth actually participates, there's so much corruption that also takes place in this participation. And that also is one of the things that leads to the demotivation of us as the youth. You know, I come from Alexander where I had youth that were participating within our council. And towards elections, they didn't even elect. Towards elections, they dropped out. Guys, what's going on? That is me fighting to get to the position that I want. Guys, I want to become a mayor of this council. That is me fighting. They dropped out. I go back because obviously we live in the same township, we live in the same community, we get around. Guys, what's going on? Why did you guys drop out? That is a youth that took a stand to participate. And now that is the type of corruption that we are seeing, where now there's so many kids and your father is the Minister of Finance, it's these surnames that hold big names, and I just come from Alexander Negwara Maleka. And now I sit there and every single thing is being taken to the child where Ubabaka is the Minister of Finance, because Luna, there's no investment that we're gonna have in you guys. That is the biggest demotivation a youth can have. And when I tell you, they back down. And those are one of the realities that we face when we participate. Another thing, when we participate, you voice out and you are constantly told to stand up and fight for what you truly believe in. But once you stand up and say, no, there's inequality here and I don't like it, I'm gonna stand up for what I truly believe in, you are suspended either ways, or you are taken out of that institution. You are staying at home, you don't participate like how other kids want to participate, and you are silenced. And now you are told, we don't owe you anything. But you don't owe me anything, I voted. I stood up and said, I want to vote because I believe that there is change, there is hope. Change can happen, revolution can happen. But these are the barriers and the realities that we as the youth are facing right now, and it's very hard for kids coming back from very marginalized backgrounds, and this is the reality of our economy, because there are people who are truly left behind, and there is no way one person can move forward when there are thousands and thousands, millions, billions of people being left behind, because there is no way you can lead the economy, this very big country alone. You need the people at a certain point. So these are the very big barriers that I think even the campaign for the DOD needs to raise us, that yes, our youth are participating, but we should not let our youth down when they actually stand up and participate. We need to be able to empower them. We need to be able to say, the fact that you are participating, we will move forward with you guys. We are going to make a change today and right now. The fact that you are here, we are moving forward. So the most important thing, do not let the youth down when they actually stand up and they participate.
Sure. Do you want to hazard a response? Why the watchers are important? Dr. Mabuse?
Oh.
Are you in awe of the young people?
I'm actually listening. I'm actually trying to absorb everything that, Martha is saying. She's a real fighter, yeah, and we need more fighters like you. Unfortunately, if many of your peers are letting you down, don't lose the courage, because it always says, there's a saying that a journey of 1,000 miles begins with the first step.
One step.
So you are that step that says, well, irrespective of, you must remember that democracy and freedom did not come easily. It was not suddenly that all people are there. And there were all these few people who said, well, not many of them are going to be supportive of what we do. And at the end of the day, the few of us who take on, we will be followed as we, because at the end of the day, it's the end result that a lot of people always want to see. Yeah. And if you are in that position to say, irrespective of what my peers are doing or saying, I believe in this democracy, and the only way that I can attain it is to go ahead with, use as much influence as you can. Yes, some of them will probably be saying, why should my voice be heard? Of course, not everybody is going to listen to what you say, but you are on the right track, and I think Democracy Watch is very critical. Having said that, it is also very important for us to look at history. We don't educate our children enough, because everything is embedded is historic. It did not just happen today. We were guided by what history dictated to us to say, how do we then navigate the challenges that we're faced with if we don't know what had transpired in the past? So we will be pursued to believe that everything that we do today is as a result of us knowing and understanding the past, so that we forge together ahead.
Sure, that's amazing. Do we have a mic for the audience? Because I've got a few minutes to take maybe 3 questions. I see you at the back. I see you in the front here. I see you there, ma'am. Let's just, one of the things as I'm listening to all of you speak, and Dada Mabuse, there were no questions to send beforehand. I'm guided by the Spirit in the moment.
I know, changed.
One of the things that I always, when we watch, I see you, sir. Let's start at the back there, please. Can I get one in the back and one in the front here? There's 2 people in the back and 2 in the front. So while we get the mic to the back, Kabelo. While we're getting the one to the back, let's start with the young lady over here. Yes, I'll tell my story afterwards. You go.
So I would like to greet you all. And I am Loretta Ntlha from the Johannesburg Student Council. And my question is, our youth is a youth that brings each other down, that calls each other names. Now, do you believe that the youth of today is united like the youth that stood in front and were like, you know what, I'm tired of this thing. I wanna fight for, do you think our youth has the courage to fight for what is right? And if they do you believe that they are united enough to fight for what is right?
Thank
That's my
you.
question.
I'm gonna ask the 2 of you youngsters to take the question, and then I will flip your question a little bit for our elders. So which one of you wants to go first?
Currently, no, the youth is not united enough. And this is very concerning, and I think this is why I keep showing up for conferences like this, because the youth is not united enough. And you know, one of the biggest things, I was at Hector Peterson on Monday, and Ubab said was like, if we could have an apartheid regime like the one we had in the past, but in a whole different shifted side today for our youth, do you think our youth is brave enough to stand up like the youth during the Soweto uprising, to stand up and fight and be united as the youth back then was? And that was a very embarrassing question, because that is not the pace where we should be moving at as the youth. And this is the biggest problem, especially when we have war amongst ourselves as the youth. Because now, how are we going to be able to work together in the future that is coming ahead, you know? And the thing is, as much as technology came, it came with a lot of advantages and disadvantages, to a point where now in our communities, it's no more the teachings that we had back then that the older generation had of, it takes a village to raise a child, or you know, you can trust in your neighbor, you can work together with your neighbors. Now it's, I can't even tell my neighbor anything because I don't know their intentions towards what I'm gonna say. You know, now everybody is just isolated in their own house, and every youth right now is at the fact that I need to be successful. And it's the I that is annoying, because now you are only fighting for yourself, you are only fighting for your family. And the thing is now, once we get this youth and they are recruited into corruption, and I believe in the saying in Zulu, "Ligoqalisa semanzi." So now when you got carrying a 16-year-old with so much corruption, how corrupt are they going to be when they are 60 in parliament or something, you know? And it's very difficult, because now if they are this corrupt and they have this ego amongst one another, and they can't even work together, they can't even uplift one another, they can't even for what opportunities you want to have, because I can't give you an opportunity, because what if you succeed in that opportunity? That is a very embarrassing mentality that a young person is supposed to have today, you know? I'm giving you this opportunity because I believe that if you can succeed, you can be able to go back and you can uplift the others, and you come back and we grow together and it multiplies. But that is not currently what is done in our communities today, and it's very sad. And it's very sad, the fact that we can't move forward as the youth of today based on such things. And unfortunately, we can advocate for much, but it's for us as the youth to actually stand up and say, no, actually, I want us to work together. I want us to grow together. And if they are constantly recruited in corruption and all of these things, we will not have ethical behavior whatsoever in the youth. And the very same youth we're talking about is the very same people that are told the future belongs to us. Yes, the future belongs to us, but so does the present. And if we are educated about corruption, we are being shown that, no, you can be corrupt and you're not going to be held accountable of, it's a good thing. They are going to immediately absorb that, and they're going to continue that within the future. And now we have already seen that, especially with what's currently happening right now with the Madlanga Commission and Mr. Kate Matlalas, we're already seeing that corruption is not going to take us anywhere. It's basically just moving us back as a country, and those are the little things that we are not even supposed to be focusing on in our economy right now. We are supposed to be talking about the bright future of South Africa, the future that we're going to lead of South Africa. We don't just want to be locally competitive, we want to be internationally competitive. We want to compete against America, we want to compete against Europe. How are we going to do that if we are fighting corruption locally? So,
got you. Do you want to hazard an answer, Otsile?
I'll deliver a summary judgment.
Okay.
Loretta, that's your name.
Yeah.
You know, it comes down, do you do history? Oh, you should have taken history, it's such a great subject. History shows us that young people were never monolithic. We were never one set thing. So this problem of leadership amongst young people is not a new thing. It's always been. There's a lot of gray hairs in the room. You must ask them about young leaders when they were our age. And they'll tell you there were people that were leaders around our age that were there, and those people were not leaders in any definition. If you look at history, you realize that how generations come to overcome things. It's that you have good leadership that is ethical, that is committed to the cause, and that genuinely tries to do what it sets out to do from the beginning. They try to keep their promise. And so our problem now is that this retraction of good leadership in leadership spaces is because there's just not enough of us there to support. There's just not enough of us there to be organized. That's why organizing is such a very important part of this. So when I say we must organize, organizing means you're creating a structure, you're bringing people together for a specific reason. And in that organizing, the objective that you're pursuing is made clear, and the people who have to execute on that, those people that are capable of doing that, they're the ones that will emerge as leaders. And then by the time we're executing on it, we'll have the right people would have emerged to help us achieve what we're trying to do. If there's one book I really would encourage you to read, it's a book I'm also finishing myself now by Andre Odendaal called Dear Comrade President, Oliver Tambo and the Road to South Africa's Constitution. It's a really great book because you start to identify the symptoms of leadership and the way in which that generation was able to guide the struggle. And yeah, it's not an easy answer. I'm not going to give an easy answer. It's just we're going to have to learn it as we do it.
It's a good summary judgment. Lady at the back, I'll come back to you, but the lady's got the mic.
Sure. Hi, everyone. I'm Tebogo. Sure, you guys have said so much that now I've got like a mix going on in my head. But what I'd like to say to Martha is don't let anybody box you and confine you to become a particular person. You are an amazing human being from where I'm sitting, and the fact that you're an individual and you've identified that within yourself will take you very far. One thing that I would like to ask is, when it comes to, yes, we all understand that, like Sipho said, democracy is not an event. But do we all understand what democracy means? And what does it mean to you as an individual? Because a lot of us want to come together and say, yeah, democracy is this, democracy is that. Democracy is freedom, you know. But do you understand the responsibility that comes with democracy? And the fact that just standing and being an observer is part and parcel of that democracy, and that freedom, because once you observe and you see what is going on, don't allow people to say to you, but that's not what it is. You know, it's something else. That element of integrity is so important, and we've lost it. And it's not just we've lost it as a nation, but we've even lost it in our homes, where you know, which means that we'll do what my uncle says because he's the man in the house. But if my uncle is wrong, my uncle is wrong. And I have to be able to stand up to that. So I think for me, the biggest thing is understand what democracy is and define it and redefine it for yourself until you value it to a point where you start living it. And that's where we need to go, I think, for us. And to, yes, hold people accountable. We don't hold people accountable. And that's why we're sitting where we are sitting at. Di Matlanga Commission, Libo Matlala, you know, all of those people that were busy watching. But for me, Martha, you're an amazing human being. Don't let anybody box you.
Thank you, Tebogo. And it's a very broad question, but I think that question is for everyone, so I'm not going to give it to the panel. But the mic, there's a gentleman here who, have you got a mic? We'll come back to the lady. Please, can we have a mic over here? Where's the second mic? Kabelo, and then you, okay. So we'll start with the gentleman here and we'll come back to you, lady. We'll finish with you. Yes, sir.
Good day, my name is Jarek Robinson. I'm from the East End. We met over 30 years ago in Eden Park, Prateri's place. Then you went to Fred Masasane's place in Katleong. You were playing with your band. But be it as it may, there is the entertainment side. Coming to the democracy and the liberation, in 76, we fought for the oppression Now we fought against the oppression of the disenfranchised people. Then it came to the 1980s, where it was a continuation of the fight against the oppression. The foreign, I'm going to be crude now and going to the point. I was the SDU, self-defense. I fought in the trenches from 1989 till 95. MK Apla was in foreign countries, lounging there, in camps. They didn't fight for our freedom at all. We are still stuck in our liberation. There was no freedom at all. Since 1990 till now, there was no freedom at all, only liberation. That's why it was the liberation struggle of the ANC, the liberation struggle of the PAC, that's that and other. We fought for our protection of our communities. And I'm so disappointed in the ANC, in all government parties, political parties, when we placed our lives on the line. MK people were given the financial support for their involvement in the liberation of this country, that they didn't have any say in whatsoever. The economic side of it, let's start from the first speaker that opened this session. The founder, Mr. Benning, spoke of the Zondo Commission. The Zondo Commission had its flaws. The first report of the Zondo Commission implicated very high-level politicians. Then the first Zondo Commission was put aside, and they had to create a second.
I'm going to ask you to get to your question so that we can hear the rest of the people too.
My question is for the people. Do we fight for the Constitution? And do we adhere to the Constitution of this country in this new local election? And we need to embrace our own, and we need to look at our own environment whereby we need to protect our country from outside interferences. There are too many corruption. It's a lot. So we need to fight now this corruption, and we need to protect our democracy from outside interventions.
Thank you. I think I hear your question, and thank you for your contribution. Dadamos, I think I'm going to give this to you. And how I understand your question, sir, is that the local government election is the closest that all of us are to directly governing ourselves, because it's about our wards, it's about our communities, and it's about our mayors. How do we show up to protect our dignity and democratic rights going into this election? And how do we fight for it, in your view?
It's a difficult question if you think about it, because what we will do, I think, is Election Watch, for example, is committed to making sure the integrity of our vote is protected and preserved, and that we will watch that process, because it's a very important part of our democratic participation. But even beyond that, once people have been elected, the tendency is often to forget what they promised you. And so it's our task to then accompany that process and hold them accountable to what they said, and to punish them if they continue in their arrogance to ignore the promises that they said and what the people say. I'd like to just caution that the nature of these problems are such that even when those elected officials are doing their best to change things, may take a little longer than we want to acknowledge. And the one thing I see lacking, particularly in the among young people, is patience. You asked about 2029. The statistics are saying to us that the people who will vote in 2029, many of them will be young people. And it is quite possible for young people to choose who governs them without much contribution to those of us who are older, because we probably might not be here. But the sense is you'll get to choose the leadership. And I can only appeal to say the nature of the problems we must solve are worse than apartheid. Apartheid was easy. It was color-coded problem, so you couldn't miss it. This one is harder, and it requires much more focus on the vision of what it is you want to do, and persevere till it's done. And so patience will do you a lot of good.
Patience and participation. Thank you, Nkadimeng. Ma'am, we're going to close with you. You're the last one. Yes.
Right. Good day, everyone. Okay, my name is Palisam Pahlele. I'm a member of Defend Our Democracy. I've been actively involved as an activist for many organizations. I've worked with, sorry. Let me just calm down. Okay, I worked with Help Me Help Myself, which deals with youth that's into drugs. Okay, we do not judge them. Our motto is hear their story before we judge them. Okay, today I just want to give courage to my sister out there, Martha. I've been your age once before. As an activist, the road has never been easy. I know how it's like to be boxed, you know, and especially when you meet with the elites, those who see you as a minor, as nothing. You know, I know the space you are in. I truly understand where you're coming from. However, what I feel is that at the current state, the issues of today are not the issues of yesterday, all right? You are faced with a lot as young people. Okay, we see so many parties, all right, and now it's more of like the struggle that the youth of yesteryear fought for is taken for granted. Because how June 16 is celebrated, it doesn't really show the significance of what happened before. It's more of this youth have been tossed into drugs, tossed into alcoholism, which is the nature of our communities. So what I'm gonna pose a challenging question to the panel itself, to say, if we are saying we're gonna defend our democracy, what democracy are we really defending? Because our people out there don't want to vote. How are we going to change the status quo? Because when they see at this, when they look at the leaders, it's not the leaders that they've emerged in mind in terms of their leadership role. The corruption is rooted in every ward. So, as we go back to the drawing board to encourage people to vote and watch out for the election to see whether they run in order, what is that we'll be doing in our little corners to motivate our people and give them reason to vote? Because some of the leaders that are in those ballot papers, they don't even recognize them. To some, if we really were to sit down as citizens, they will really even opt for civil movements leaders that are currently in action to be the ones on the ballot papers. So which it becomes a challenge to say, why should people defend the democracy? What is that they are defending? So it should also be our role to say, constitutionally, have we done much to educate our people in terms of the constitution, in terms of the bylaws, so that we shouldn't wait for things to be destroyed? Because now South Africa is like we're dealing with a lot. Our issues are complex. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Palesa, and thank you for that contribution. And I'm going, because I'm standing here, and from what I hear you say, I'm going to take, it's a very big question and a very complex question, so I'm going to take a small liberty with your question and change it slightly, because you're saying, what is this democracy that we are defending? And I actually think it's a very beautiful question to end our panel with, and I'm going to change it slightly and ask, I'm going to start with you, Baba, and go that way. What do you cherish most about the freedom we have in South Africa that has been delivered by democracy today?
You know, words are very complicated. Democracy is a word that is, you know, willy-nilly thrown about. However, democracy is very complex. It means so many things to so many different people. Now, you speak about young people and drugs and so on. If you ask them, why do you smoke? They say, it's my democracy. Why do you go to Shebeens and get drunk on a day like June 16? But that's what we fought for. That's how they understand democracy. Now, where do we draw a line where we say, but democracy is different? Democracy is something more than just you going out to Shebeen or you going out and smoking and hanging out and partying. We need to probably unravel and educate our people about understanding what democracy is, so that when we chart a path, it's based on all of us understanding what our role is within the democratic dispensation. I think we have not allowed young people to understand their role within the democratic process. So if we can continuously educate young people to understand the complexity of democracy, perhaps then we will be advancing something that we were here to discuss.
So what do you cherish about your democracy and freedom?
The biggest thing that I cherish about our democracy today and the freedom is the fact that a citizen can have the power and the ability to voice out their concerns. A citizen can have the power and the ability to be able to stand up and say if the country is going left, but no guys, we are going left. Let us rather use this route to go right. You know, I love the fact that we are given the power to voice out. We are given the power to speak up. That is just the most important thing for me, showing up, especially, and then I'm leaving proof because I'm sitting here and I'm speaking up, you know, and I think democracy is not a one-man's show. It involves every single party, every single citizen, each and every community, each and every province, the entire country as a whole. Each and every citizen needs to be an active participant into the decision makings of our community in order for us to have a better Mzansi for all. And one of the biggest things, and I think, thank you so much, you raised, is the substance abuse and everything amongst the youth. And I want to say there's one thing that I've actually noticed, and this was through the school visits that I've done. You know, I grew up in Alexander. It's part of the township that really is to play a part in being the woman I am today, young lady rather. And I said to myself, I'm going to do school visits and I'm going to go because, like I said, and I really stand firm on that. I said, I'm going to do school visits. I went around school visits and I said, schools in Alexander are close so much together. I said, I'm going to do all these schools in one day. I got there. I started, I think, from 8. Each and every school, all high schools in Alexander, not really the primary schools, mainly the hardcore ones, which are the high schools, and there's like 5. Did all of them on that day, and when I tell you, from 8 till the time I left, all the schools, the future leaders that we are saying are the future leaders of today, the youth, we outside. That was deurmekaar. It was chaotic. I was even there. This yellow blazer even helped me because at least now, a yellow blazer, at least you're a bit different because everyone, future leaders I want to stress on, up and out in the rooms, it's chaotic. Okay, I get in. Dumelang, I'm the deputy mayor, and I'm actually the first to come out of Alexander, so I'm coming here to, introduce myself, work with you guys. Teachers are in the staff room. Teachers are marking and teachers are looking, drop, damn, excuse my French, gorgeous. They are gorgeous in the staff rooms, but the youth, and when I tell you from the start till the end of me doing these school visits, I have never really experienced an active class where the teacher is there educating the learners. It could be educating the learners about history. It could be educating the learners about the elections that are coming here. Even if they're in grade 8, at some point you're gonna have elections, but you guys, there was no relationship whatsoever between the teacher and the learner. There was no education at all, and that was so embarrassing. That is just one of the things that I was so sad. And when I got in, there was a huge board in majority of these schools that are like, our learners are the future leaders of tomorrow. And that is so contradictory because how are they the future leaders when you let them be all over? Yes, our youth doesn't listen. But once Rishapatupa, they can listen. I mean, I am here today. Once Rishapatupa, and they didn't care. They didn't care. They didn't care about the youth. Everybody's just running around, and it's so sad because now these are the future leaders that are supposed to be educated, and this is why school youth drop out because now even the teachers, the people who we entrust, I mean, not all backgrounds are the same, and not all backgrounds can have that saying to the children that, elections are coming, and not really backgrounds focus on that much of education for the children. So really, we as the youth depend on our schools to give us as much information as possible. And now if your own teacher is saying, I got a degree, girl, so if you're not gonna do whatever, I have a degree and I'm getting paid at the end of the month. That is the energy that we are facing when it comes to education.
So there's still a lot of work to be done.
There's a lot of work to be done, but I love the fact that I can still be here today and speak up about these concerns so that something is actually done.
Well, I'm glad you get to observe.
Mother, it's undemocratic.
Yeah,
they call the police on you. What I enjoy most about the democracy, and I think must emphasize, it's not a finished product. Democracy is a work in progress.
Excellent.
But 1976, I was in matric. I wanted to be an engineer. 1977, I had a scholarship from one of the local companies, Anglo-American. I could go and do engineering. I applied at Wits. They said, no blacks allowed here. 1977, that was. So, unless you apply to the Minister of Education, he would, if he considers, if he woke up well that morning, he might agree. But I couldn't go to Wits because I'm black. Today, you can, some of you are, you were saying UJ, the Student Representative Council, you are in the UJ, is it? Used to be in Africana University then. But the admission to most of these universities are open to all races. It may be that you don't have the money to go there, I have in one of our churches a very bright young person who is topped the whole of the West Rand. Wow. Doesn't have money to go to varsity because, so he's not excluded because he's black. He's excluded for financial reasons. All of that to say, democracy, we have to qualify when we say we are free. We have to say we have won one battle. There are many more battles to fight. And it takes the same resilience, the same courage, the same patience to fight them until we win. I was called in to mediate in the fees must fall thing in University of Pretoria. Oh, yeah, University of Pretoria. And so we called the students, all of them together, and the faculty and so on. And the students were saying we want a non-racial, democratic, free, and quality education. So we said, brilliant, let's discuss how we fund that. And the students were saying, don't give us that problem, it's not ours. It's government's problem. We want a quality education that's non-racial, that is free. So the question was, if the Chinese say, okay, we'll pay for that education, and then they begin to be the new colonial power over us. When we were, what we were really fighting is we wanted a decolonized education. So it's like, even in the way you fight your struggles, bear in mind you don't want to recolonize yourself in doing it. So it's the democracy, yes, there are freedoms, yes, there are things you can do and that you couldn't do it before, but that's how we shape the character of this democracy, and each one of us must participate. Each one of us must contribute. Do not give up on it and say, we are fine. Your voice is important in shaping what it becomes.
Wow, thank you. Otsile, as a student of history, all you know is democracy, but you're a student of history. So for you, what do you cherish most about this democracy?
Well, I cherish that it allows me to sit in the room with such great people. I'm going to go rogue and answer Balisa's question. Because at the core of what Balisa's question is, was this even worth fighting for? The problems with our democracy are what the byproducts were supposed to be. It's the delivery on what the dispensation was supposed to provide. The democracy itself, I reckon it was worth fighting for. It is still a valuable democracy because for all the problems that we have, had we not had it, we would be in a far more, much more worse off situation because the scale of what it is we overcame to bring about democracy and the danger and the awfulness of that old system, it makes democracy worth having. But now it's a question of what we do with it. It's the do with it that prompts us, Balisa, to question, was this even worth it? It's the same as Loretta's question. What type of leadership do we need to make this thing work? Democracy is a canvas. It's who you give the paintbrush to. It's the leaders that have to paint the picture for you, and you, me, and everyone in this room have to sit and look at it. And if we don't like the way it's been painted, then action needs to be taken on our part to course correct before it's too far gone. I think about an old quote that says, democracy is the most disorganized, awful, back-breaking system we have in organizing people's hopes, wants, and aspirations. But it's the best we've got. And, you know, I'm an optimist at heart, and I think that this can work out. And I'm going to end with a story, and perhaps Mr. B knows the story, and all of the people at the Katarada Foundation know it, because I tell the story all the time. And it's of a man who dies and he gets to the gates of heaven. St. Peter's waiting there, and he says to the man, "Give me your book of life." And St. Peter starts paging and paging and paging. And then he says to the man, "Show me your scars." The man, with a very perplexed expression on his face, says, "Scars? What scars? I have none." St. Peter closes the book, sets it down, and says, "You have no scars, you say? What a pity. Was there nothing worth fighting for?" The essence of Defend Our Democracy and the democracy that we are trying to make work here is the result of generations deciding that this was worth fighting for, fearing death, the penalty of incarceration. I encourage people to go to Constitutional Hill and actually go into those prison cells and see what people were actually up against. People chose to do that because it was worth fighting for. And so, thank you to Defend Our Democracy for doing this Election Watch initiative, because you are proving that this democracy is worth fighting for, even now, post this dispensation. But it's on us, it's on Loretta, it's on Martha, it's on me, the ones who have more tomorrows than yesterdays, to make it worth fighting for the next generation after us.
You know, there's just one
Sir.
point that I wanted to make. It's quite, interesting to say this. Do we all realize that all the people that had fought for freedom, including Jesus Christ, by the way, were young people? Jesus was young. Stevie Biko was young. Solomon Mahlangu was young. So young people have to make a determination. What does our future look like? You have leaders like Otsile. Thank you.
What a way to end. Thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you to the panel. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm mindful of your time. It's 12:30. We do have a couple more things to do, so if you can stay with us, please bear with us. It will be worth it. They'll be singing. They'll be networking afterwards. So if you can, please do stay with us. And as I let my panel off the stage, I am going to... Do you need something, Yvonne? Yes, what? Oh. Oh, okay. We have a little video as we let our panelists off the stage and get the chairs off the stage so that the next item... Yeah, can we play the video? Dim the lights and play the video. Thank you. Oh, the singers are coming up because the video is not up. Okay, sharp. Sure. Guys, can I get the chairs off so that the guys don't... Oh, okay. All right. With the change of outfit.
Thank you once again. Such insightful and great stuff. We have learned, and it's so good. Do enjoy as we're going to sing you our final song. And yeah. To dream the impossible dream, to fight the unbeatable foe, to bear where the brave dare not to go.
And right or wrong, and to love, pure and far, to try where your arms are so worthy, to reachable goals. This is my flow to follow that star, no matter how hopeless, no matter how far, to fight for what's right without question or pause, to be willing to march into hell for that heavenly God.
Unbearable sorrow. I mean now to run where the brave dare not to go, dare not to go. That is us.
This is my flight to follow that star, no matter how far, no matter how far, to fight for what's right, no matter what, no matter what, no matter what, no matter what, no matter how far, for that
Wow. The impossible dream. Wow, wow, wow. After such amazing voices, after such a magnificent conversation with such incredible people, after such a wonderful morning with all of you, and for the time you've given us, I think there's only one thing left to say. And to say that thank you on all our behalf is the Deputy Chairperson of Defend Our Democracy, Mr. Nishan Bolton.
I'm going to make it short and sharp. Thank you, everybody. Right, we're done. We've had the music, you've had the message. There's work to be done. Recruit the volunteers to make sure that we have a minimum of 5,000 observers. That's the minimum. If Wade exceeds the target, then we will look at the bonus. Yeah, I don't think there's anything more to say. To thank all of you, to thank the service providers, the caterers, the people who pulled all of this together, and to you for really pulling this together in the most exceptional manner. Thank you very much.
Don't forget, there's a pledge. We can't see it, so Wade said it's fine. People can find it on our website and on all our social media. Our social media is it's on all of our paraphernalia, and on your seats there was a flyer with the intention, with the places that you can go. Please sign up if you haven't already. Please vote. And remember, I think if anything I take away from the conversation today is democracy is not an event, and it needs you for it to fulfill its promise to all of us. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. So you can continue to